Conferences.io is going to be used throughout the Kellogg Annual Reunion event this Saturday in order to facilitate audience Q&A sessions. As a quick background, Conferences.io is entirely web-based. What that means is that there's nothing that needs to be downloaded or installed. This isn't something that you need to go to the App Store to download or anything like that. What we do is we set up a unique URL for the event, and everyone is able to access it through their web browser. And we've optimized the application to work across essentially any mobile device that has an internet browser. Smartphones, iPads, tablets, etc. I'm going to show you what this application looks like from both the moderator and audience point of view. The first thing that we need to do is access the application. And the URL for the event is going to be krw.cnf.io. Once everyone has accessed that URL through their device, the first thing that they're going to see is a list of the available sessions that will be using the app. And the list is organized by time. I have two side-by-side windows here so that I can show you how to manage the Q&A as a moderator, which is going to be shown on the left-hand side. And I'll also be showing you what the application looks like from the audience point of view, which is going to be on the right-hand side. Once we access the URL and we see the list of sessions, all that we need to do is click on the session that we'd like to join. And there's going to be a dedicated space for the interaction for that specific session. I've set up this session here labeled Demo Session for the purpose of this training, but this won't be visible during the actual event. So we're going to go ahead and click on Demo Session here. And this is the space where all of the Q&A specific to this session will take place. Right now the pages look pretty identical. And for the most part they're going to be. As the moderator though, you just have a few additional options and functionalities that the audience doesn't have. In order to gain access to become the moderator, all that you'll need to do is click on the session and then click the Sign in to Moderate button. And then you'll type in a password. And the password for the event is going to be KRW 2013. Once you type in that password, you'll become a moderator and we'll have a few additional functionalities. And that's what we're looking at here on the left-hand side. I've already typed in that password. So the way that this works is during a session, during a panel, or during a presentation, the audience is able to submit questions from their device in real time. In order to ask a question, the audience is going to simply click this little Ask button and then type in their question. Once a question is submitted, anyone who's on the app will be able to see that question. I've also got my smartphone going here in the background, so I'm going to go ahead and add in another question. You'll notice that now that there are questions available within the app, the moderator has these two additional little buttons here that you don't see on the audience side, and I'll explain those in a moment. But the great thing about Conferences.io is that as these questions are coming in, anyone who's on the app is able to see them on their own device. And as an attendee, what they can do is, if they see a question that they like or that they'd like to have addressed, they can vote for it by clicking on this little arrow on the left-hand side. The page will automatically reorder this list of questions by the number of votes, or by popularity, so that whenever it's time for Q&A, the moderator or the presenters can know exactly what are the most important questions among the entire group, and how can we use this time for Q&A really most effectively and address things that are relevant to the majority of the audience. This allows you to avoid wasting time doing the random hand raising or having someone start to ramble on and on about something that isn't relevant to anyone else in the group, which can be really frustrating as both an attendee and a presenter when 8 of the 10 minutes for Q&A get eaten up by a single question that is really only important to one person. So during the presentation or during the session, this Q&A process is going to be kind of happening in the background. As the moderator, you can always keep up with what's happening in the Q&A. You'll be able to see all the questions, which ones are getting voted on, etc. But you'll also have a couple of additional functionalities that the audience doesn't see. As you can probably guess, this garbage can icon will delete a question entirely. If I click that icon, that question is going to be removed from the list. It's going to be removed from the audience's pages. It's no longer visible. It's gone forever. That can be useful for duplicate questions, questions that have errors if they only typed half a question, etc. You can kind of keep that cleaned up a little bit by deleting some of those extraneous questions. This other icon, which is a little heart, is used to save a question. And this is entirely up to you whether you'd like to use it or not. What happens is when I save a question is that it's going to remove it from this list of open questions, but it's going to put it down here in this saved questions section. The idea behind this is that once a question is addressed, or maybe a question is submitted halfway through and a few minutes later the presenter or the panel go over that topic and answer it, the moderator can save those questions and kind of mark them as answered, so that they can be removed from that open list of questions, but without having to entirely delete the question. So you can keep the list of open questions fresh with things that haven't been addressed yet, and keep that a little bit better organized for everyone without having to entirely remove a question. So that's really the extent of what you need to do to moderate the Q&A. It's pretty simple, should be pretty straightforward. I'm sure you guys will all be able to grasp this concept very quickly. The final thing I wanted to mention was that you can have as many moderators moderating a session at the same time as you'd like. Anyone who enters that password in the session can become a moderator, and it's not going to kick out someone else who's a moderator or anything like that. You can have multiple moderators going at the same time. So if there is a large session, or if you want to have 2 people kind of monitoring or moderating the Q&A, that's totally feasible. The final tip that I wanted to give to you was the best way to use this tool is to have you or whoever's moderating facilitate these questions to the panel or to the speaker. Let the audience submit all of their questions, vote for them so that you can get a snapshot of what are the most relevant things. But then have one kind of point person, whether that's the moderator or someone else, be the one to decide which questions actually get facilitated to the presenter or to the panel. Doing it that way is a really efficient process. It saves you a lot of time from having to go around with microphones or anything like that. And when there's one kind of point person facilitating those questions to the panel or to the presenter, it allows you to get through a lot more questions in a short time frame than you would otherwise. Sometimes during panel discussions, the moderator will even be monitoring this during kind of like the preset questions that they've prepared, and if they see something that's relevant at a certain time, they can kind of jump in with it. But it's totally up to you, whatever you feel comfortable with. It works really well just doing this as like a standalone Q&A session afterwards, after the panel is wrapped up or after the presenter has finished. You can then introduce the audience Q&A portion. It works really well doing it that way. Or if you feel comfortable enough, if you are the panel moderator and you want to kind of monitor this in real time and throw in some of these questions throughout the regular panel, that's also a great way to use it. It's totally up to you. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at john@conferences.io. You can also reference help.conferences.io, which has articles and videos and tutorials on every feature and how to do pretty much anything you'd want to with the product.